So I'm sorry that it's been such a long while since the last transfer update, but as you may have noticed, Arne Slot is currently on holiday, so not an awful lot happening around Liverpool at the moment. And to be fair, it's not just because the manager's getting a well-deserved break before the biggest challenge of his career so far. It's also because, of course, this is a tournament summer, isn't it? So a lot going on there and players going off to tournaments, and really that tends to have an impact on when the transfer business gets done. Often you have to wait till teams have been knocked out to see any movement on that front, particularly if it's international players. So I do think that's having an effect and kind of slowing things down and making these first few weeks really, really quiet. But we do hope it's going to ramp up eventually and going to be a busy summer for Liverpool. So, and we are hearing some signs of things starting to happen, or some rumours sort of starting to build up now, and signs that transfers are going to happen eventually. So that's why I jumped on to give this latest transfer update. And I start with kind of exciting news around an incoming, in the sense that, we haven't had very much in terms of who might be targeted this summer, but actually something to get your teeth into, and that is of course the report that Liverpool are very keen on Lille defender LENY YORO. Now, that one's been bubbling in the background for a while. Liverpool have been mentioned frequently really as the team that are interested. Also Paris Saint-Germain, of course, and Real Madrid. Now Manchester United have been thrown in the mix by David Ornstein, a fantastic journalist. Obviously his sources are impeccable, and he never gets a story wrong, does he? So you know that he can absolutely take that information to the bank. And of course, as much as it's worth, really, I can definitely back that up, that Liverpool are definitely interested in LENY YORO and are pushing for a move if they can get him in from Lille this summer. But the one thing I would say, and I don't want to pour cold water on it completely, but the word I'm getting from the Liverpool side of things is, there's a little bit of pessimism about the possibility of that move, and that is of course because Real Madrid are involved now. You could think this is just Liverpool, creating a position for themselves, or just trying to, make it easier to stomach if they do miss out. But I think back to the situation around Aurelien Tchouameni when he left Monaco and eventually ended up at Real Madrid. Liverpool were very, very keen on him, but from the off, I remember asking around sort of April time, and sources at Liverpool were very much like, look, we love this player, but we think he's going to go to Real Madrid. And that is kind of the similar noises we're getting from the Euro side of things. I mean, very much a player that Liverpool, if they could, there was a deal there to be done, they would be absolutely all over it. They really highly rate him. Think it's a real opportunity if he does come on the market for them. But that pessimism is there, a belief that he is going to end up at Real Madrid. They are very much the strong favourites. I think from the players' side of things, he's made clear that if he can make the move to Real Madrid, he will go there. So Liverpool, not a lot of hope on their side, but they will hang in there till the last. They will wait and see what happens on that and try and make something happen. And I think there is some possibility, I suppose, that it doesn't go the way it did with Tchouameni. Obviously, with Tchouameni, a key aspect there actually was Mbappe turning Real Madrid down that summer. It freed up a little bit of money for them to go and get Tchouameni. So again, on this one, could something work in Liverpool's favour this time rather than go the other way? And there's talk of a 20 million euro difference in the fee that Real Madrid are willing to pay and what Lille actually want for Euro. Will that prove to be a massive stumbling block? Can Liverpool steal him? We will have to see. But I think one of the things you do have to factor in is that Lille are under a lot of pressure here. Obviously, Yoro's into the last year of his contract, so they don't want to miss out on him free. They don't want to have to sell him for a cut price fee in January by leaving it too late and hoping another club will come in. And obviously the player himself will really want to go to Real Madrid. I mean, what a huge opportunity that is. A club that just wins the Champions League every year and has been so dominant recently, and it is, arguably the biggest club in world football. So, it wouldn't be surprising he really pushes for that move. And as I say, pessimism on the Liverpool side that they can get it done, but they will, hang in there for as long as they need to if an opportunity opens up, because they would absolutely love to sign him. And I think one thing I would say about this, I don't think it's all eggs in the Euro basket. I think if they do miss out on him, which is the expectation, I do think there are other centre-back targets being looked at. I do think this is a position, above most others really, or possibly above all others, that Liverpool really do want to strengthen this summer, because they've lost Joel Matip in that position, haven't they? There's a few question marks, isn't there, around Joe Gomez. We keep hearing those rumours of interest from various places. So I think centre-half is somewhere they really want to get someone in and really sort of future-proof that position, really. So we also got the Konate injury worries to factor in as well. So centre-half, something I definitely expect Liverpool to strengthen. I'm personally a little bit sceptical if they can get that Euro one over the line. I think it's going to be a real struggle. but definitely an area at least they are looking at. And as I say, if there's an opportunity to get Yoro, then they will go for that one. So one to keep an eye on as that develops, and maybe we'll get some shock news that Real Madrid will pull out. We'll have to see about that one. Now, talking about centre halves, another rumour in terms of outgoings that's popped up in the last couple of days is potential for Virgil van Dijk to go to Saudi Arabia with Al Nassr, who Cristiano Ronaldo is currently playing for. Now, it's one of those that I think there's definitely truth in this. I know the reporter who broke this, Ismail Mahmoud, actually really good sources in Saudi Arabia, and I know that story's been followed up elsewhere. So that's a really good scoop on his part, and obviously that's one that's proven there's some legs to it, and I'm not surprised by that, to be honest. I mean, you look at Van Dijk's situation. Obviously he's in the final year of his contract. There's no talks on going with Liverpool right now at this very moment. Obviously we expect that will happen when everyone comes back, but at this moment, so his future's quite uncertain. He's got to go out there and check what's out there, see who wants him, what the wages he would pay, what the conditions are of any deal that was there to be done. So I no surprise really that these conversations are going on in the background. But the one thing I want to say about this is that Liverpool say they've had no approach so far. There's nobody coming in, and they wouldn't welcome one either. They don't want to make a big sale to get rid of Van Dijk. They see him very much as part of the short-term future of the club. At the very least, they expect that he's going to be here for the next season. He said that himself, that he wants to be the captain who helps slot settle in and play a big role in that. And clearly there's a desire on Virgil van Dijk's side as well, and I know this from talking to him personally, that he's a real desire there to stay at Liverpool and extend his stay. There haven't been those contract talks yet. Virgil himself has said, look, this is down to the fact there's been so much upheaval at Liverpool recently that there are other priorities. They've got so many new starters, haven't they, in various different roles, so he understands why that's been on the back burner a little bit. But there's a real desire from his part to get a contract and to extend his stay at Liverpool. He absolutely loves it at Liverpool, and I would say from Liverpool's side of things as well, look, he's getting to that age where you're going to see some decline, but he's in a position, I think, where the intelligence of defenders, they can mask some of the physical decline. They can play a little bit longer as a centre half, can't they? Than maybe you see from your forwards. They maybe have to retire a little bit earlier, or their powers wane a little bit quicker. We've seen Thiago Silva's the example I always use of a centre half who can play on a little bit longer, and a few of them do manage to do that. And I think, look, when you've got a player of the quality of Van Dijk and his intelligence and brilliance as a centre half, for me, still the world's best in that position. I still think he's got a few more years at the top level yet, so I think there'll be an eagerness on Liverpool's side as well to give him a fresh contract as well. So I really do personally expect that one will be resolved, and I think this interest from Saudi Arabia, I totally get it from Van Dijk's side, seeing what's out there, protecting himself, his position. But I think this is one that Van Dijk and Liverpool will be able to sort out once everyone's back for pre-season and those talks will get underway. So not one I think that necessarily supporters should be too worried about yet. Just one where Van Dijk's sounding out what's out there. Now, I'll stay on centre halves now. It's a bit of a centre half themed update, this one, and just a little update really on Sepp van den Berg. Obviously, I spoke in the last video about a 20 million valuation that Liverpool had put on his head. Obviously, the player himself has said he's not particularly happy with that amount, but I think they've got a fair point really when you look at his experience, his age, the fact he's got a few years left on his contract yet. I think that's a fair valuation. Now, the latest update we've had on this is that from the Mainz side of things, reports in Germany suggesting that they are in talks with Liverpool now. They want to make that loan move permanent and they're desperate to get him in. But again, a little bit sceptical about this one. Not really sure whether Mainz will be able to do that deal. Liverpool sources are telling me that talks is pushing it a little bit in terms of where the two clubs are up to. Talking about Sepp, it's not really negotiations because Mainz are so far away from Liverpool's valuation now. Even if they don't think they're going to get 20 million, and that is just a starting point in negotiations, just to to set the bar high, and then obviously they will get talked down from that a little bit. It's still a huge stretch to see Mainz get anywhere near that. I mean, I looked it up. Their record purchase in the transfer window is €8 million, and I think the difference between that and £20 million is a long way for Mainz to go. So I'm not really convinced that those talks will come to much. And there is interest from other clubs we know about as well. Wolfsburg, Southampton, other Bundesliga clubs I've been told, and other clubs across Europe as well, top flight clubs who are really interested in as well. So I'm really, as I say, sceptical, I think, about Mainz's interest and where that will go. but there's clear interest there in Van den Berg. He clearly wants to go and play regular football as well, so that is very much one to keep an eye on, and one I think will develop. I personally expect that he will move on from Liverpool this summer, and because there's that big interest, and that Liverpool, even though they've set the price high, there's a real willingness there to do a deal, so we'll have to see how that one plays out. Now, I also want to talk about another one that's kind of been shot down in terms of interest around from Liverpool's side of things, a name you might have seen linked in the last week or so, which is Yankuba Minteh at Feyenoord. Now, this is one that Liverpool have really played down in terms of the possibility of him coming to Liverpool. Obviously, he's been talked up because he's an Arne Slot player at Feyenoord, and obviously that link gets made, doesn't it? That Slot is now going to sign all the players he used to manage, but we know Liverpool don't work in that way, so it's not a surprise to see this link shot down. And also, they're not really interested this summer, and I think they've made this quite clear in their name being used to drive up interest in players. You know, we saw it with Inacio, that one got shot down. And also, it's not just agents driving up interest. They don't want clubs like Newcastle using Liverpool's name to sort of help them out with their PSR concerns either. So, you know, very much being quite eager to shoot down names that have been linked to them that are not accurate. But I think Minteh, the reason I want to talk about this, and the reason I think it's interesting, is he's not the first, is he? He's one of many, many left-footed right wingers that have been linked to Liverpool. Now, I think in his case, there's no truth behind that. He's not a player that we expect Liverpool at the moment to go for this summer. But there are several other names that have been linked that haven't been shot down, that have been left out there, that are possibilities. And the sheer volume, as I say, of left-footed right wingers that are being linked at the moment. I mean, I'm thinking of Mbuemo at Brentford. Osorio at Midtjylland was another one who was linked recently. And there's Johan Bakayoko, who's the big name, who has consistently been linked. And Liverpool are making no attempts to shoot that one down. I think that is interesting. So clearly, I think that sends a message that Liverpool are sounding out players, or the agents of players who are left-footed right wingers. That is clearly a profile they are very much focusing on going into this window, and I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, obviously, we know that Salah's going to stay this season. That's my understanding. There's no chance of him leaving this summer. Why would he leave the money on the table that he would get in a signing-on fee by going for a fee this summer? There's no chance that would happen. He is going to stay put for next season at least, but I think the contract discussion for him is a very, very tricky one. He's on 350 grand a week, so Liverpool's highest earner comfortably. He's not really going to want to take a pay cut, is he? Let's be honest. As much as he might want to stay at Liverpool. And obviously we did see some signs of decline, didn't we, in his play last season. So I think that's a very tricky contract discussion to have between player and club. And I think, you know, even if that was to resolve itself, I think this is a position that Liverpool need to look at, because I think going into next season, they feel that, can Salah play as much as he has done for the past few years? Is this taking too much out of him to ask him to play 50 games a season again, having done so frequently in the last few years at Liverpool? And also, you know, you look at the sole backup to Salah at the moment, or the main backup has been in recent years, Harvey Elliott, and I think, you know, he's a player who's shown he's so much better in the middle, where he can influence things. He can go either way. He can pass the ball right. He can come inside. He hasn't got that electric pace of a Salah. So I think, you know, Liverpool are looking at this and thinking, regardless of what happens with the Salah contract situation, but it adds some urgency that, you know, he could leave next summer, is that they maybe need to get someone in who's younger than him, can come in, be that sort of initial backup to him, and then eventually, you know, step up and be the main man on that right wing. So I think it's really interesting. We're seeing so many links to that, and I think that is very much something to keep an eye on. As I say, I think, you know, centre-back is very much a position I think Liverpool want to strengthen, but I also think a winger who can play on that right-hand side, preferably probably left-footed, is something that Liverpool are definitely looking at in this market. Now, we don't know exactly who that's going to be yet, I must admit that. I'm always going to be open when I don't know, you know, the exact details, but I think that the sheer amount of names that are being linked, that is a position I think Liverpool are very much in the market for and want to keep an eye on going forward. Now, before I wrap things up, talking about the positions Liverpool are interested in, as I say, centre-half, I think a right winger as well, but I constantly get asked about a defensive midfielder. I think, you know, rightly so, that's a lot of fans' priority. It's a position everybody really wants to see strengthened, and there's generally not happiness about Liverpool's position, which, you know, I will share again because I do get asked about it so often, is that they often say it's not really a priority going into this window. You know, the latest links are Edison at Atalanta. Again, Liverpool been very cool on that, not really suggesting he's someone that they're going to actively chase in this window, even if they've sounded out his agents previously. And I think the thinking is with that is, again, I get asked, why is this not a priority? And I think for Liverpool it kind of is a priority in the sense that, look, they tried to pay 110 million for Caicedo last summer, so they obviously do want a defensive midfielder who is world class. They tried to buy Tchouaméni the summer before that. They were desperate to get him in, but they accepted pretty early that Real Madrid were going to get him, and that proved to be the case. So they are very much in for a defensive midfielder, but the belief was, or the belief has been, if it's not one of 2 or 3 players, then they don't believe that the quality is there in the market. Now, again, I can't disagree with that personally. I don't scout enough leagues to know that this player will be good enough or X, Y, Z. But Liverpool's belief has been is that there hasn't been a player on the market who is good enough to come in and instantly move the dial for Liverpool. A world-class Fabinho type who could drop into the team and just be unstoppable in that position. Again, that's Liverpool's belief. Whether they're right or wrong, we'll have to see. We do see names thrown out. I remember last summer being told that Florentino Luis was the answer, or Ibrahim Sangare, who ended up at Nottingham Forest, and that was very much proved to be incorrect. So I think that's always worth bearing in mind when you see people saying, well, this guy would sort things out. Always be sceptical about, if Liverpool scouts don't agree, then it's not going to happen. If the numbers guys don't agree, it's not going to happen. So it's all about, is that market there? So Liverpool's opinion has been at times that it's not. That's why they went for Endo. And I would also argue, because they made that Endo signing, who was proved worth it, I suppose, in terms of, obviously last year they got back into the Champions League, they won a trophy, he was key to that. But it also has left them a little bit bloated in numbers in midfield, hasn't it? So that's, again, an interesting challenge they've got. They barely missed by Cetic and Thiago last season, numbers-wise. Only Thiago's left. By Cetic is back in now. So I think that, again, adds a little bit of complication to whether they go and sign a defensive midfielder. Do they need to move someone on? So again, I'm just going into those details because, as I say, it's not something at the moment I expect is a priority for this summer, and people often ask me why. So I'm just trying to kind of explain that and try and give you an idea what Liverpool's position on it is. But as I always say, things can change in the market. Maybe a world-class number 6 comes on the market. Maybe someone they didn't think would be available this summer becomes available and Liverpool make the move. We will have to see. I always promise that things can change, so I would never say that anything I say is an absolute guarantee, but I always try my best to share what I know and give you as many insights as I can. And as I say, things maybe will change. I hope they do. I'd love to see them sign a world-class 6. I think it's a problem position, but at the moment, maybe not a priority. But we will see how that plays out. And if you want to stay up to date with the updates in terms of how things are going for Liverpool in the market, always ask. Subscribe to the channel. It's a really good time to get on board. And as I say, I will always try and provide insights and give you an idea of what Liverpool's next move might be, who they are interested in, who they aren't interested in, where people are trying to use their name to generate some interest. So hopefully this is the start of things starting to ramp up. We got the Euro link now. There are starting to be links to incoming, so hopefully we see some movement on that and it gets a little bit more exciting as the window ramps up. And so, as I say, if you can subscribe to the channel, that's always helpful to keep up to date. And if you like this video, then do click that like button. It always helps get it out to more supporters as well. I appreciate everybody who does like and subscribe. It's really, really helpful. And as I say, hopefully things starting to ramp up now in the transfer market. So hopefully be back for another transfer update pretty soon, and I'll see you then.